I'm going to show you how you could scale your $5,000 bankroll to $22,000 this upcoming NFL season. And if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you some information that every single NFL bettor could use for this upcoming year. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our goal. What's our goal here? We're going to take a $5,000 bankroll, right? We want to scale that to $22,000. Just the NFL season, right? Just the NFL season. So NFL season is 18 weeks. So we got 18 weeks to do so. Now, this is just being able to bet the NFL. This is not betting anything else. So what we have to do here is the difficulty of this is going to be pretty high. But the reason why is because with the NFL, you only basically have one day. Yeah, you got Thursday night football, Monday night football, but there's really not a crazy amount going on those days to be able to recoup the amount of money that you need. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start with each weekend. We're going to include Thursday or Monday night football throughout the football week. We need 10 plays. So we're going to look for 10 plays here. Okay, that's the first thing we're going to do. We need 10 plays every single week. Now, what we're looking for is we're looking for implied probability here. IM, implied probability. So that's the percentage of what the odds are. We want it to be 80% or below. Okay? We don't want to play implied probability that's going to be above 80%. We just don't. Because we're going to want to find this mix of an edge and create ourselves an edge here. So our implied probability we're going to look for is 80% and below. Now our true percentage, TP, all right, our true percentage, what we're going to want here is 83% and above. So you see the mixture that we want here? The mixture that we want is our implied probability to be a bit low, but our true probability to be a little bit higher. Okay? We want at least a margin for each play of 5%, meaning that's the difference between these two. All right? Example, let's say week 1, we find Burrow, let's say, okay? Let's say his implied probability is 78% for him to throw for, let's say, 200 plus passing, okay? Implied is 78, but his true probability is 88%. What do we got? We got a 10% edge there, right? Plus 10% edge. That's exactly what we want. That would consider one of the plays that we need out of our 10. Now we need to find 10 of those. And they need to make sense, okay? They can't just have an edge. They need to also produce a matchup that makes sense as well. And there is 10 of these. Every single week there is about 10. So you will have an opportunity to find 10 there. We have to do this week in and week out. Now the percentage that we have to hit in order to make this happen, we have to hit 80%, which you should because the true probability percentage that you're playing is above 83%. So long term it should give you a shot at hitting 8 out of 10 of these each week. Now I know people say that sounds crazy, but probability is probability. All right, so again, if you have 10 cups and 8 of them have balls in it, you flip them 100 times. Most likely 80 of those times you're going to flip something that has a ball in it. All right, you're going to flip a cup that has a ball in it. That's what's going to happen. Probability is probability. You can't change probability. So like I said before, once again, 18 weeks. Implied probability, we're looking for 80% and below. True probability, we're looking for 83% and above. At least 10 plays we need. Okay, that's our goal. Get at least 10 plays. Our margin, 5% edge. Anything more than that is better. For example, Burrow over 200 plus passing yards. Let's say 78% implied probability, 88% true probability, 10% edge. Throw that into our list for 10 plays. Now that's just the first half of it. Let's get into the second half of what you need to do here. All right, so again, we have that $5,000 bankroll, right? Well, we need to situate our bet size correctly so that way you know exactly what to bet. So what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be ranging from either you're going to make the decision here, okay? Because you can go really risky here, okay? And I mean extreme risk because you're trying to take $5,000 and grow it to $22,000 with just the NFL season. So there's extreme risk that has to be taken for you to get to that level. So you could do 5% here, which would be $250. Okay, that's going to cut your profit margins in half. Or you would go to 10% and you'd go $500. But you damn well better know what you're doing if you're going to do that. Okay? Because on any given Sunday, if you lose 10 in a row, you would lose your whole bankroll going right here. Okay? So you have to take that into account. But this is how you would situate your bankroll for exponential growth in a short period of time. And I'm saying short period of time, yeah, 18 weeks doesn't seem like a short period of time, but it is because you're only playing one day a week in the NFL. So that's the reason why you have to do it this way. And another reason why it's so hard in the NFL to be just a NFL bettor and nothing else. It's very hard because you just have that one day. But this is how you'll be situating your bankroll. Your bankroll will have to be situated just like this. So what you will see, gain-wise, you're aiming to get out of that 8 out of 10 every week that you could hit, trying to get just 2 units out of that. Now I know you're saying, oh, well, I'm hitting 8 out of 10. Shouldn't I get more than that? No, because of the odds that you'll be playing, you're aiming to get 2 units. If you can get 2 units out of a Sunday, you're good to move on to the next. Okay? That's what we're aiming for. If we get 2 units every Sunday, guess what? That's going to add up to what? 18 weeks times 2, 36 units over the course of 18 weeks. Now, if you guys want all the NFL strategies that I have, that I show all of my members, all you guys gotta do is click the link in the description, and I'll teach you exactly, rather than just one strategy, I'll teach you every single strategy that you need to know to be successful this upcoming NFL season. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what our growth would look like. All right, so at $250. At $250, you would take your $5,000 bankroll, and you would make 36 units on that, so you times that by 250, okay, and you would end up with, at the end of football season, $9,000. All right, that's still realistic. It's realistic gains there, okay, because you turned a $5,000 bankroll and you made $9,000 out of that. All right, so still not bad. Now 500. Let's go ahead. We had a $500 unit size. Well, obviously you're just doubling what this is, okay? So that would end at an $18,000 profit. Okay, this is profit too. Okay, so essentially, at the end of the football season, regular football season, you would have turned this into 14,000, and you would have turned this into 23,000. Okay, so you would have took your original $5,000 bankroll, turned it into pretty much. I mean, if you look here, you're going 2.5x, and here you're going pretty much 4.5x. All right, so like I said, this is extremely risky though. You need to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and you're just randomly betting stuff, you're not going to reach 8 out of 10. You're not going to be able to make 2 units every single week. It's just not going to happen. Okay, you're going to have weeks where you're completely off and you're losing 5 units or whatnot. You can't have that. You got to know exactly what you're doing and the probabilities that you need to be playing to be able to expect these type of results. Now, like I said, you want to see exactly the numbers for totals and spreads as well. This is what you want to know this NFL season, is the total spreads, what key numbers, because this is huge as well. All of this stuff is good with props, but what about key numbers with totals and spreads? A lot of people lose every single year because they're betting certain numbers. So I'm going to discuss that with you too as well, so that way you guys are prepared for NFL season. Now, before I get into the key numbers, so that way you guys know exactly what numbers for the spreads and totals to be able to bet, let's go through this one more time. Starting out with a $5,000 bankroll, you got 18 weeks to try to turn that into 22,000, 23,000, around that range. What do we need to do here? All right, implied probability each week, we need 80% or below implied probability plays. True probability, 83% and above. Aim for 10 plays. That's what we need. Try to get 10 plays, a margin of 5% or more, and get at least 8 out of 10. You have to. Got to be able to get 8 out of 10, which should stay true to that true probability. Unit size, you decide whether you want to do 250 or you want to do 500. Max risk is obviously 500. Okay? If you could hit 2 units each week over the course of 18 weeks, that's pretty much, you get Thursday, maybe one play or two. Sunday, majority is all the plays are going to come on Sunday. Okay? Majority, that's where it's going to happen. You could turn this 5,000 into 14, 5,000 into 23 at the end of the 18-week mark. Which is not too bad for NFL season. All right? Now let's go ahead and jump into the key numbers for your spreads and your totals, so that way you know exactly where the traps are being laid for the NFL bettors. Let's go ahead and talk about the spreads first. Like I said, this is one of the most important information that you're going to need for this NFL season. So those of you that stayed, you guys are definitely going to want to write this stuff down, all right? Your spreads, key numbers. What are your key numbers here? -7.5. You guys have probably seen this stuff all over the place when you're betting. -3.5, -10.5, -14.5. Okay? You see these spreads? When you're going to bet a team, -7.5, you're at a complete disadvantage. Why? Because now if they just win by a touchdown, you end up losing by 0.5. Okay? That's not what you want. They need a whole extra possession here to be able to clear this mark. So you want to be able to buy off of these numbers. Okay? You could buy alternate totals and alternate spreads and buy off of these numbers. So for here, you would think your number that you want to buy off of would be 6.5, right? It's not. It's actually 5.5. Okay? 5.5 is what you want to buy off of. Reason why is because with the extra points being missed so frequently now in the NFL, that you want to take that out of the equation, and instead you just go -5.5. So that way, touchdown 6 points, you're good. 3.5, you want to shave that down to 2.5. So now if a field goal comes through, guess what? You end up winning if they win by a field goal. 10.5, you want to get that under to 9.5. And then 14.5, if you guessed it, gets that to 13.5, maybe 12.5, depending on, what you want to do there. Okay, because like I said, with the extra points, it becomes a little bit more iffy. So that's the spreads. Now let's go take a look at the totals. Because most people think this is the only thing you need to pay attention to in the NFL, is the spreads, the key numbers in the spreads. It's not. The totals you need to pay attention to as well, because you can get screwed when you need an extra possession to get the over, or, opposite there for the under. So let's go ahead and discuss the totals and the percentages here. These are the top most common numbers in the NFL for the totals. All right, first one is going to be 41, followed by 40. All right, so your percentage on that is 3.87% for 41, and then for 40, it is 3.67%. All right, I'm going to do a couple of them here though. But if you are somehow looking at a total that's has anything to do with being on this type of number, you need to be able to buy off of it. Okay, so for example, if the total that you're looking at is 41, obviously you're not buying down to 40, right? You're not doing that if you're looking for the over. You're not buying down to 40. Reason why is because that's a key number as well. You would be buying down to what? The number below that, because you want to buy off of that key number. So if you have a total of 40, well, 39 is not on our list. So guess what? You'd be looking at 39 if you're looking at the over, and then we'd be looking at 42 if it was the under. All right, if we're looking at the under here, we'd be at 42, and if we're looking at the over, we'd be under at 39, okay? Because those are obviously key numbers for totals that you don't want to fall on. Now let's get to a couple more. 51, that's for pretty much a high-scoring game. All right, that's 3.67% as well. Then followed by 47, followed by 44, and 43, okay? And then last, 50. So our percentages here are 2.47%. 44 is 3.3%, 3.2%, 2.8%. All right, so again, totals. What you need to do here is, for example, 51. If your number is 51, you're not going to buy it down to 50, right? Because 50 is another key number. You have to buy it down to 49. Okay, so if we're looking at 50 or 51, and we're looking at the over, you'd have to buy it down to 49. Now, if you're looking at the under, you would have to buy it up to 52. Reason why is because 52 is not one of our key numbers. Okay, so you would have to buy up on top of that. Now, like we were looking at 41 and 40, you can see 44 and 43 are kind of sandwiched in between where that 42 would be at. 42 is that number. Like I said, that's key for us to be on, because look, it's not one of our common numbers, and most likely if you're on this number, you're going to have a pretty good shot at being able to either land on this number or it's going to go under that number. Okay, but you got to be paying attention. Like I said, you should be writing all that stuff down because it's very important. These numbers right here will literally save you thousands of dollars betting in the NFL, because people love to bet the spreads, they love to bet the totals, but they ignore when there's key numbers on it, and then they end up losing by the hook, or they end up losing by 1 point, something like that, because an extra possession comes into play. As long as you pay attention and you understand the numbers that you need, guess what? You have an advantage over everybody else.